Ah!
There he is.
So yes, we will be putting the video up. The video.
There you go.
Going
Now
up.
I've got all this technical stuff down.
Well, I was looking at, I was doing all the research on you, Dave, and I was starting to go back there, 1959 and under 16. I'm going, Jesus Christ, I wasn't even born then.
There you go.
Yeah, so I understand why you might have technology been a not on top of your list in your CV. I didn't see it in your CV. I didn't see IT or software.
It's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mate, Bruce and I have just done a little bit of an intro, and we thank our sponsors when we do these podcasts. We're up to, Buck, I think this is our 30. We've got, I don't know that we've actually produced 30, but we've got 4 or 5 in our backlog. So we're learning, Clacker. We had no idea when we started this, and we probably are at a stage that we have a little bit of an idea, but still a lot to learn.
No, you're doing well with it.
But we're having a lot of fun. And
I'm hearing good things about it.
Well, listen, before we get into the Dave Claxton story and promote you, Steve, please don't tell Dave how I did at golf yesterday.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard.
I'm sure he won't.
42 points, Dave.
Have you been on the social media and the Courier today? Like, it's on the back page. Bruce Palmer shoots 42.
I don't like boasting, but God, I was at one with my equipment and the environment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good result. 42 points
off 30. My handicap has gone down. Well, actually, the week before it was club championships. I was playing off 34.
Okay.
And I had 34 points and lost. I guess the layout was a little bit tougher.
Yep.
What do you play off, Clacker?
I play off 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Is a rock, man.
You're an enthusiast of the lovely game of golf, aren't you?
I love it. And I've got 3 of my grandkids now. I brought them all a putter. I gave them some of my old clubs, but I brought each of them a putter that was missing out of their bag. The 3 of them in the last 2 weeks. So now they got the full set.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. Well, I haven't played for a while, and I love the game. And I tried to play. I play one-handed, Clacker, so I use a crutch and a one-handed. But I used to play with my mates, and I used to love playing with Bruce. But he found that because he had to take a bit of care of me, like tee my ball up, that it affected his game.
Oh, okay.
I said 7-iron, Bruce. Hey, you get a workout in the dead of summer, teeing up his ball. Oh, I brought the wrong club. Sorry.
Anyway. So, Clacker, tell me where we're going to go today. We're going to dive into you. I'll just introduce you first and foremost, and we'll fill in the dots as we go. But just want to many people that are on this podcast are basketball people, so many of the people will definitely know you and your pedigree. But it definitely goes a long way back, and and we'll talk a bit about your Tassie days. But you're talking about someone who's spent a long time coaching in the NBL, both as a head coach and assistant coach. You've coached in the Boomers. You've coached state teams. You've been involved in the associations in junior development. We're talking for 50 years.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to rattle each one of those things off, but it's impressive. So I want to start, just tell everyone where you are at the moment. So obviously retired, playing golf, but you're still involved in basketball, correct?
Yeah, I'm at the Hillcrest Christian College at Reedy Creek, and this year I've opted out of the senior boys, which I had for 5 years with Johnny Zaghetti, who left, and then I handed over this. Well, he got crooked. This is a while ago, and then I went up there to help him actually, and then he got crooked, and he had to retire and get some treatment, and then I ran the senior boys until about this time last year, when I handed them over to a full-time guy they put on, and now I'm helping.
Who's at Hillcrest? Who's the teachers and or ex-players down there, or is it all at Hillcrest, or was just you and Johnny?
Well, it was me and Johnny there for a while, and Robbie Cadee came. I brought Robbie Cadee in.
Okay.
Robbie came in and helped, and now Robbie's gone to help Petrie at TSS,
Okay.
I'm now assisting the the senior girls program that Pero Cameron had for quite a long time.
At which school? Or
Hillcrest
Hillcrest.
Christian College. Yeah.
Pero is overseas at the moment, is he?
No, he's back here now. He was in
Okay.
China last season. Yeah.
Okay.
Is he going back, Dave? Do you know?
I asked him that on Saturday, and he wasn't quite sure what was happening. So, yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so that's today. Oh, sorry, go Bruce.
Yeah, that club that he coached used to be the Army team.
Oh, okay.
And they moved in they at the early parts of the CBA, the China basketballs, they used to dominate. Right.
Did they? Yeah.
That left-handed kid that played with Dallas. The Army team was always the best team, but since they moved, and I think it's Ningbo that they're at now, the talent's not there. And it's I say what you want. I know that CJ Bruton's up in Beijing. Mike Kelly.
How'd we get onto China here? How'd we get onto China? I missed that.
Pero Cameron.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so you got to kind of pay attention, but before we get into Dave, Mike Kelly just signed as the head coach of Shenzhen Aviators.
Was that a swipe at me?
Not at all. But let's get into. Let me start with that's the Hillcrest, and you're still involved in that.
Yep.
What our listeners won't know that you were inducted into the Basketball Queensland Hall of Fame in 2016.
Yep.
Well
That's
deserved,
honor, Dave, and I'm glad to see the Basketball Queensland recognizes your great contribution.
Yeah, no, I was really pleased about that.
So I mean, I was very lucky personally to have exposure with you from, when I was pretty young. Well, I guess 18, 19, and then, a couple of years at the Bullets as well, Dave. And
Yep.
I love playing for you, and I guess the style that you always had was the same. It was up and in, play D, be tough and hard. Now I go back to your starting in Tasmania.
Yep.
AFL, is that where you got your hard edge to go into basketball? Because I did notice in your history there was an all-in brawl in a grand final. Can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah. I played under 19. I played for the school a little, but then I went straight into the under 19 Launceston NTFA competition, which was Northern Tasmanian Football Association. I went into the under 19s when I was 15. So
you were 15 playing under 19.
I was 15 under 19, and I stayed with that for a couple of years. And I was playing. Then I started playing basketball, obviously as well. So I was doing both, and I felt there was two things, and I've always said this about my grandkids play AFL. AFL is obviously the body contact. Helps you absorb body contact in basketball, what there is. But I found that the basketball helped me with the football, AFL, because my coaches I used to handball a lot because I could see people nearly 360 like you do in basketball on the AFL field. So that to me was a contribution. Now it was a different ball, but it's still ball handling. So
it's an idea of invasion, isn't it? Like a 3-on-2, 2-on-1, find space. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
360.
Yeah. So I found basketball helped me play football, and I felt the football helped me with body contact stuff and that with basketball. So it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, for some of our coaches out there.
But you get back to that all in brawl. We won.
We will. Yeah, get back to
when I went into the senior football. I played in two grand finals. One was in 64, we got beaten. And then 66, we won the grand final in Launceston in Northern Tasmania. And then we played Hobart in the state final at what is now UTAS, where they play Hawthorn and then play out of. We played there. That was our home ground. And we played Hobart and we beat them in the state final. And the bloke I had to mark on those days, they told me he kicked 5 goals the week before. Bernie Payne, he came from St Kilda, played for St Kilda the year before. My job was to try and stop him. Well, I stopped him. He only got 1 goal, but there was an all-in brawl because they knocked out one of our best players who wouldn't hurt a fly on the wing, and then it was all in. And I might have stopped him. I might have stopped him from kicking too many goals, but I'm glad when the fight was over that he allowed me to get up.
Allowed you to get up.
Well, mate, you certainly you were so clear in your instructions, and definitely playing up and in and hard was a hallmark of all the teams that I played with you, and then watching you coach. The contact piece that you say here, that's a really good thing to share to coaches coaching juniors. People think basketball is a non-contact sport. I describe sport like this: rugby league, collision; AFL, heavy contact, right? Because that rugby league players are going through each other. Rugby union, heavy contact; basketball, contact. How's your take on that? And some people are surprised when we say this about contact, but there's a lot of contact in basketball.
Well, you got to, and you should try and take charges, because you get the ball back, and everybody recognises a person who takes a charge.
Yeah,
I had a young bloke playing for me at Hillcrest a few years ago, and he never scored a lot of points, but he would take 2 charges a game.
It's the greatest play in basketball,
and I would reward him, and I'd ask all his teammates to reward him for that. Because he was prepared to put his body on the line, whereas a lot of people are not.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bruce and I've talked about this before. I mean, I even, all my teams that I've coached over the years, always taught them how to take a charge. Because if you don't teach someone how to do something, they won't do it. And you're right, there are people that you play with, and in the generation today, we'll get on to the new generation, but in 1959, if your coach asked you to eat a piece of concrete, what did you do?
Well, you do that in spades. But I had a defensive skew. I first to admit it in my entire coaching career. And it really started in 1971, 72. Bruce will remember this guy, I reckon, because he came from that neck of the woods. A guy called Bud Presley, a USA coach. He came out to help Lindsay Gaze. Lindsay brought him out to help prepare the 1972 Munich Olympic team.
Right.
Came to Melbourne. I heard he was coming to Melbourne, and I was in Launceston in Tassie, so I got him over to Tassie, and he came up to my house, and we sat down on the floor until well after midnight before I took him back to his hotel. And he said to me when he left, and we were talking, obviously, he was a defensive specialist. He talked about charges. He coached at a school, Bruce will know this school, in San Francisco called Menlo College, a small private college, beautiful campus.
Bud got Brian Gorgon here.
Yeah.
He had that contact with Lindsay and Bud Presley.
Yes. Yes, he did. Yes. And Menlo College, at Menlo, Bud was a very out there sort of guy. And he would show his players how to take charges. And he was he was in his late 50s, probably early 60s when this was happening. And he took me out to the college one day to watch practice. I saw it firsthand. And he would have the players run at each other and take a charge. And anyway, when he left and went back to the States, when I got the position as Bullets coach in 1980 and 81, I was sent to the United States to learn a bit more about my craft. And the first bloke who picked me up was at San Francisco Airport was Bud Presley. And I went and stayed with him for 3 days. Now that was an experience. But what a
was that from how much you were drinking or just the basketball?
No, he was full on. with his basketball, and we never stopped. And he took me around. He took me to colleges. He took me to University of San Francisco, where they all knew him around San Francisco. And he wrote an article, and I think it was even in Sports Illustrated. I've got a copy here somewhere of an article that he wrote purely on the defensive side of basketball.
Yeah,
An
right.
absolute great bloke. Now, that started me on that road.
So that sort of gave you your style of play. Your
Yes,
defense,
absolutely.
offense comes from defense. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's hard to describe, and the thoughts today, because there's so much focus on offense.
Yeah.
There's big gaps in the defensive world, isn't there? But it's interesting when you watch the championship teams win championships. Defense wins the game normally.
Well,
Someone does
yeah,
something amazing defensively. They
I've always worked on the theory. Let's try and keep a team to a score that we can meet. I'm not
yeah,
chasing 90 or 100 points.
yeah,
Look at your squad, look at your team. What are you likely capable of? And if I can keep in a 40-minute game, if we can keep a high school team under 65 points, I
you're a
think we're
chance.
always going to be in the game,
Yeah.
you know? So it's that sort of mentality that I've worked with. And okay, you win some, you don't win all of them, of course, but generally you're in the game. You give
Yeah.
yourself a chance to win.
Can we get into so obviously Bud Presley is one of your mentors, somebody that's influenced you. Let's get into your NBL career.
Yep. Yep.
And we'll start with the Bullets. One of the great fascinating things that our listeners aren't going to be aware of, that you are the one that arranged to get Leroy Loggins
Yep.
to join from West Adelaide. That's a
No,
huge one.
I had him before he went to West Adelaide.
Oh, okay. That was
Yeah. See, this is an interesting.
But most people don't know this, Dave.
No, this is totally not recorded. But the story on that, and I'm happy to tell the true story on that. The true story on that is they had a program that Doc Atkins, who was the director
Yeah.
of basketball at Basketball Queensland,
Yep.
and he got in contact with a guy called Red Myers, who was from South Carolina, who was president of the NAIA Coaches Association in the States. Long story short is they brought out in 1979, and we had what we called the Triple ABL series in Brisbane, played out of Auckland Flower. Triple ABL meaning Australian American Amateur Basketball League. That's what it was.
Yep.
Now, in that 79 team, we went to Auckland Flower. We had 6 teams. It included Ipswich and Toowoomba, a Gold Coast team, which I was coaching, and 3 Brisbane clubs.
Yep.
Anyway, the 12 players they brought out, we sat at Auckland Flower on the Saturday night, and to give everybody a look at these players, they played a exhibition game amongst each other.
Right.
And at half time, they held a draw out of the hat, 2 players, a forward and a guard come out, or a centre and a guard. And out of that draw, Harold Peacock was the president. He drew out for the Gold Coast Leroy Loggins and a guy called Tim Glass, a guard from Texas. And that's who I had. Now, in that same group was Dave Nelson.
Must have been so upset to have Leroy Loggins pulled out of that hat.
Well, nobody knew Leroy Loggins. I mean, first thing they saw was this
So you hadn't
exhibition game
even
at
seen him.
Auckland. He was still going to school.
Yeah, right.
He was at Fairmont College in Virginia. Anyway, we went on and won that original with the Gold Coast that I had. We won that. We beat Maine, who had Dave Nelson in their team. Anyway, we won that. That was 79. That was the first year of the NBL. In 1980, they appointed me the Bullets coach. And I played, and we brought in a guy called Brian Banks, a guard.
Oh,
He was
yes.
one of the best guards
Yes.
that we've had. And we had Dan Hickett, a 7-foot white guy who was, not the greatest, but a good bloke.
Big.
Anyway, and at the end of that season, 1980, we got to the semi-final and actually finished third. Got beaten in the semi-final and then won the playoff for third and fourth against Barry Barnes and Nunawading. Then at the end of 1980, that's when I went to the United States. Harold Peacock organised for me, flight organised to go to, as I said, Bud Presley, and then on to South Carolina, Red Myers. Now, Red Myers, and I stayed with him, he knew Leroy Loggins, coach at Fairmont. On the way over, Harold gave me the money to arrange for Leroy's flight.
What, in a brown paper bag?
In a brown paper bag. I took the money over for his flight to be booked from the United States. Visa, did his visas organised, and there was money associated with that. And we transferred that money from Red's office in South Carolina to Leroy's coach in Fairmont. And the process was, he was coming out in January for the 1981 Bullet season. And that's what happened.
So
those
he played
days,
81. So he played 81.
In those days, you only got one USA flight into Brisbane a week. That was a Sunday. So he was coming, say, January, whatever the date was, say the 10th. So I'd get in the car, drive out to meet the flight, meet Leroy. Of course, I knew him because I'd coached him in 79. I'm waiting for all these guys to come off. It didn't come off. He missed the flight. So I had to wait another week. The next Sunday. So I go out the next Sunday. Yep, Leroy's on this one. And off he comes, and we settled him down and got him a unit around Auckland Flower. And he played for me in 1981, and what a sensation he was. And the funny part
was that
about
obvious to you from when you had him in the Gold Coast?
Absolute.
He just stood out, didn't he?
Absolute. Skinny looking forward, but the first time we exposed him, we had a tournament in Canberra, and we went down to play that tournament. And it was the long weekend, I believe, in the January of 81. Anyway, we played that tournament, and during that tournament, this is another unknown factor, the Australian Institute of Sport was opened while we were there that weekend. And they asked Brisbane Bullets and Canberra Cannons to play an exhibition game at the opening by the Prime Minister in those days, Malcolm Fraser, of the Australian Institute of Sport. We played Canberra Cannons in an exhibition game at the Institute.
Yep.
And Leroy, again,
just smashed it.
Nailed it, and we won that game. Now, that was the first game played at the Institute.
I have never heard about that game.
Leroy went on to become, not only that year, help us again to the semi-final. And would you believe, by a very narrow margin, we missed out on the grand final and probably would have won it. But we missed out by 2 points. Launceston, who won it, at the last play, which was only seconds on the clock, Leroy went up against one of the most prolific scorers in Australian basketball history, Ian Davies.
Yes.
I had a good look at it. There was daylight between him and Davies, and they fouled Leroy and put Davies on the line for 2 free throws, and that's what they won by. And they went on and absolutely torched Barry Barnes and Nunawading in the final.
And mate, so then did Leroy then 82 go to Adelaide?
Yes, I was still working. I had a full-time job.
Yep.
I was paid
you were J&J then?
$500 for the season. I was at Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, yeah.
And so I went back to my
job.
9 to 5.
Where you get paid.
That paid the bills. $500 for Bullets coach wasn't paying the bills. So I went back to that, and in 1982, 83, Leroy, West Adelaide, poached Leroy down there, and he came back when Curley came in for 84 into Bullets. They got him back from West Adelaide.
And that's, I mean, I've never talked to Leroy about his time in Adelaide. They won a championship.
He did very well. They won a championship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they beat us in
They
the
won a
semi. I
championship.
was player coach at Coburg. We played them in the first round, and they beat Cal Bruton player coach Geelong in the
Yeah,
grand.
right.
Yep.
Leroy was unbelievable, but they also
Yep.
had Kenny Richardson, Brad Dalton, Joe
Yes.
Teal, Ray Wood,
Yep.
Al Green.
Al Green.
You know, I mean
Exactly.
that was a stack.
Yep.
They deservedly won that championship. So you were the coach in 81 to 84, or what happened? When did Curly take over? Were you
84.
but you were there
84.
as his assistant in 84? When did you
No,
come
I was just, I went into coaching Brisbane under 14, under 16, under 18 junior boys,
right?
and a girls team later, um, in that period, and we won some state finals in that under 16, under 18. And one of the young players who tried out for me and thought he was in the team for the under 14 Brisbane team was CJ Bruton. His mother used to bring him along to practice, but because his older brother Elliot was in my team.
Yes.
And CJ thought he was trialing. He was only 10. And he was so upset when I named the team that Sunday morning that he started crying, carrying on with his mother that he'd missed out on the team. I said, CJ, you weren't even trying for the team. You're too young. But his older brother Elliot played for me, and we went on and won some state titles with those teams. Then I did some 86, around 86, 87. I did some NBL, it was live telecast, Channel 7, Channel 10. So I did some uh, television special comment stuff at the Brisbane Bullets games.
Right.
And like Blocker Roach on the sideline for rugby league, is that right?
That's it. Yeah, that's
Because
similar.
I tried that also, but I have a guy called Bruce Palmer who destroyed my my commentating career. Clackers, I was first person I had to interview, like sideline. Mate, Bruce. Yeah, how did the first half go? All he answered was yes and no. No matter what I asked him, the answer was yes or no. And
Couldn't get a
then,
response, eh?
oh, mate, and that was the end of my commentating career. It's devastating. But anyway, but Clacker, can we stay on Leroy for a second? Because you've obviously, that's incredible story bringing him out to Australia.
Yeah,
And what he then, I mean, everyone talks about Leroy to this day is, one of the greats, that's
yeah,
ever played
absolutely,
basketball.
absolutely.
Um, like how dominant, like in those early days when he was at his, youngest and jumped the highest and stuff, how dominant was he? Like, I mean, I used to be a kid, 10 or 12, watching him on TV at Bundaberg on ABC or something, you'd get a bit of footage,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was just incredible. Like, there were some good athletes, but what was it about Leroy that made him different?
Leroy was a winner. He was what you'd call a clutch player. If you needed in close games, which obviously there were, he had a good team around him in all the teams with the Bullets, but he was the clutch. If you needed a basket, he could either get to the rim with his ball skills or he'd hit his jumper.
Yeah.
Um, he was, and he was a really a good athlete. He was a good. He might have been skinny and light in many ways in his younger days, but he was a really robust athlete.
You
He
couldn't
could
get
mix
hold
it.
of him, mate.
No,
You
you
like
couldn't.
you couldn't,
He-
how you whack someone like bigger and you got a
yeah,
feel of them. You touch Leroy and next minute he's beside you. He's like, go,
but
catch it. And
the other thing was he's left-handed.
yes.
Now, Bruce and you know players who are left-handed, they try and do things with you and they like with Ricky Grace. We'd go take his left hand off. He'd just go further left. Well, Leroy was like that. He had terrific skills, and he could shoot the ball, and he could pass the ball too. He had great vision
To
on the court.
defend.
And defensively
His
long.
defense,
Yes,
anticipation, and reading the
yes,
reading the offense. I mean, he had a lot of deflections, a lot of steals.
yes, absolutely. Um, because as you
Well,
said, Steve,
I
he
feel
was
very
long.
lucky. Like the three of us have all of us have had an involvement you know, for me, towards the end of his career, played with him, and then I coached him 1 year with Brian in the NBL, and he was just fantastic. I loved every minute of Leroy Loggins. He's a champion.
He would always turn up to play.
Yes.
I remember once in Adelaide when he was with me in '81, Reg Biddings the week before.
Yeah.
Reg Biddings had scored 69 points. It was an NBL type record. And we'd already played West Adelaide the night before and lost by a damn point at Apollo Stadium. And when we went back to the locker rooms, all our gear, the kids had got in through the roof and knocked all our gear off. So we spent half the night at the police station. So the next afternoon, we're playing Biddings' team at 2:00. Okay, double header. And I said to Leroy, "You've got Biddings, mate, and there's no way in the world he's going to get 69 points. Your job is to take him out." And Biddings, I can't remember the exact score, but it would have been about 20.
Yeah.
Leroy,
And
Leroy,
he was a legitimate scorer.
Leroy
Holy
produced
moly.
Leroy produced as well. And we
Yeah.
won that game. Yeah.
Oh,
Forest
look, there's just times I've seen him do things and you just go, how did that happen? I can't. And just his rebounding ability. Like, you know, you think, oh, someone's going to get it. Then out of where is he? Just next minute he goes to another level and his long arm would just go whack.
Well, he was quick
He
too.
was amazing.
He was quick. As Bruce said, he had great reads on the game defensively as well. He'd shoot
Yep.
the lane and get his hands on that ball. But he was quick. I mean, he
Yeah.
was that's why he was a legend of our sport.
Yeah, no, we're very lucky to have Leroy Loggins in, and he's certainly a part of where basketball is today. Like, and it's great that Bruce and I were just talking before on our podcast. We've had some really great and, like, you know, guys like yourself with history in the game, and it's so fun talking. I mean, I know a lot of the podcasts have the latest NBL guys on and all that sort of stuff, and you know, we're old guys now, but like, I just love the stories. You know, you're all in Brawl in Tassie. Now we're up in Queensland, and you bring Leroy Loggins into the basketball world. Sensational. Share a bit more with us in your journey, of your coaching journey, and who's impacted that for you. Like, who's influenced you. You've already mentioned a couple.
Yeah, well, there was another two guys that I still run that stuff that helped me in my NBL when I was with the Rollers. A guy called Fred Litzenberger.
Okay.
Now, Fred Litzenberger is not a known coach in the States. He coached Oregon women 1 year. He was an assistant coach, I think, at an NAI school or Division II school. He showed me how to play a matchup zone. I'm not talking about a zone. I'm talking about a very, very disruptive matchup zone principle. And I brought him out here twice to the coast, and he taught me so much about the defensive side of it. Now, I call it a man-to-man zone. That's because it had all the man-to-man principles that I accepted and understood.
Yeah.
And he showed me that, and I ran that, and when I'm with the right team, I'd still run it today. Second thing is that I had a guy called Jim Seward. Now, he was a Division II coach at in Southern America, a Division II school. When I had the Rollers, we went over a couple of years to play games, and he was in Oklahoma, and it was Division II, and we played that Division II school. They beat us, and I sat with him for about 2 hours afterwards. And at that time, Division II school, but in the NCAA, his school was the second highest offensive production school in terms of points in the USA.
Wow.
So I said to him, "Show me
What you doing?
Show me your transition, your offensive transition. Show me that." He showed me that, and I'm telling you, it's a staple with teams of today even. you know.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
So I put those two things together.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I brought him out to me one year at the Rollers, and a funny story with that, he got to Los Angeles, never been out of the United States ever. He got to Los Angeles and he went to board the plane, Qantas plane. We had the flight booked for him, everything. He went to get on, and they go, "Sir, have you got a visa to travel?" Well, no. Do I need one? You're like, yes. So he rings me. He had to stay overnight in LA, go down to the embassy and get a visa. He'd never flown out of USA in his life. He was about 50 odd, you know. Anyway, he finally got in.
Yeah, there's quite a few Americans that don't get out of America.
So transition offensive stuff, I've run what he's run, and I've run that for forever. The defensive strategies of that man-to-man zone, Litzenberger, it gave me unbelievable.
Wow.
The pressure we were able to put on with that was amazing, you know, and obviously won us a lot of NBL games, or kept us, like I said before, kept us in.
You didn't have to score as many if you keep them there.
Absolutely.
Simple.
Because we never had the budget that a lot of other teams had. So what we got, we used, and we used some pretty good players through at the Rollers in those days. But in the essence of that was the mentality of, when we play the Tigers with Gaze and Copeland and whatever, Bruce with Scott Fisher and Tim Dillon and all those sort of guys, or
we had Leroy.
Yeah, well, I had Mike Mitchell and Andre Lafleur at the Rollers,
and they're two incredibly good players.
Absolutely. So our job was to try and keep teams, and I had a target in those days. We had to keep teams to a score that we thought we could get.
Yes.
And in those days, it was 78.
Okay.
78.
Okay.
And if we did that, we thought we could be either in the game or we could throw 80-something and win the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had LaFleur. People don't realize he led the nation in assists.
Yes, he did. Yes. Did he in college? Yeah.
Mitchell, those two. So you could rely on, and I always had to think that looking out of Dillon and Fisher, or then Fisher and Maley, I got to get 50 points out of my imports.
Yeah.
Then we, Mark Leader, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, David Grant, Ray Warner, Cecil X. I didn't have to rely so because they could score, and they were, tough defensively. Dave, you won 2 championships, right, with the Bullets when you were an assistant?
Yeah, well, no, I was assistant to Curly in 1989 and 1990.
Yes.
We got to the grand final in 1990.
That was Rucker's first year.
Yes, 1990, and Perth beat us 2-1 in a best of 3.
Yeah, we lost at home on the 3rd game, didn't we?
We lost at home on the Sunday.
Yep.
And in front of what was then a record crowd of something like 13,000 people.
Remember, they allowed people to sit in the stairwell.
Yes.
Which workplace health and safety would go nuts today. No way that's going to happen. That's exactly what happened.
And those tickets were sold. Bear in mind, we played on the Saturday. Those tickets were sold in less than 24 hours. From Saturday night to Sunday afternoon.
The filling, that was part of that era. To fill Boondall was a pretty cool thing. And we did it pretty regularly. And
absolutely.
It was no spare seats. It was a great time to be part of the growth of basketball. And we all know that basketball then had a bit of a dip, especially in Brisbane. We lost the club and all that sort of thing. But Bruce, I'm over to you. I've had far too much to say in the first part of this interview.
Well, let's try to thread all of Dave's NBL. So, what year did you start then on the Gold Coast with the Rollers?
After that 1990 grand final that we lost, that we were just talking about on the Sunday afternoon, in the locker room after the game, I approached Curly and said, I'm resigning tonight. I start tomorrow, Monday, as the coach of the Gold Coast Cougars, as they were then.
That's right. Cougars.
Right. And I went down on the Monday morning. I started work for the Gold Coast Cougars. And then within 2 months, financially, the owner at that point lost the license. The NBL took it back. And then we had to figure out how we were going to keep the NBL license on the Gold Coast. And we set up all night, a local consortium of people, God bless them, got together, and we sat throughout the night at Southport in a high-rise office. NBL Bill Palmer and Mal was up here, and we transferred the license overnight to become the Gold Coast Rollers.
Right.
And we had to negotiate Lafleur and Mitchell's contract overseas during the night with the American agents. So we kept everything in place. We had Larry Sangstock, Ronnie Radcliffe. We had a lot of Australian top players in those days that we had to settle their contracts because they expired. So
and
we did
Smitty as well, didn't you? Had Roger in that first team?
Roger Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger Smith was in that team.
Yep.
And the funny part about it, as the previous owner, we were still practicing. We had a Kmart tournament to go to. And
That's right.
I remember on a Friday we had our training session at Carrara, and the owner came to me, good bloke. He came to me, he opened up his wallet and he said, Dave, this is all the money I've got. He pulled out of his wallet, this is to pay the entire team. Okay. He pulled out of his wallet maybe $300 or $400. That's it. So I had to go out to practice and somehow break up that money amongst all the team. And some of these guys were on, $50, $60, $80,000 a year. And it probably worked out at about, out of the 10 or so blokes, it probably worked out at 40 or $50. That was it.
How did you then survive? Like, how did you pay the play?
The NBL came in and paid those players their salary. Didn't pay me 7 weeks.
Wow.
It
I
took
didn't know
7
this.
weeks to get all that things together from the time they took the license back to the time they issued the license. The NBL, God bless them, they paid those players' salaries.
And who then became the owners of that license then?
Well, it was a group of local people who Dennis Legasic was one.
Yep.
But there were others involved in that. Robert Philp. Now, Robert Philp, I had in one of my Queensland senior men's teams back in the 77. A few of those local people put their money together and got us go. They got us through the first year, which was a bit pressured when you think you're playing for a group of, mums and dads, basically, who are putting their money up.
Yep.
Fortunately, the Robina Land Corporation, who built the Robina Shopping Centre and all where I'm living now,
Yep.
they came in at the end of the year, first season, and they took over. And that they had a Singaporean owner who had a fair bit of dough, and they owned us for 4 years. So we kept that thing going before Mark Kornhauser then brought out Robina Land Corporation, and then in 1996, along with Hobart and Geelong, the NBL took the licenses back.
Here's something that you wouldn't know. I coached Mark Kornheiser with the Jewish club Ajax in Melbourne.
Did you? Yeah.
He was as a basketball player, I guess you would, he was good with money.
I
Wasn't much of a player. All right. So the Gold Coast, how many years were you there then at the Gold Coast?
was there from 91 to 96.
Okay.
And through that time, we had some, Mitchell and Lafleur
They were your two best imports down.
They were two of the best. One of the blokes I brought in, and unfortunately, the story I'll tell you. We brought in Steve Woodbury.
Oh,
Now, Steve Woodbury, to me, is one of the best players ever.
I agree with you.
And I also rate, with Bruce will know, Darryl McDonald. I thought that Darryl McDonald in his day, Bruce will know more about that than me, but I always rated Darryl McDonald. I thought he was fantastic. But Woodbury played for us, and I got him because when I was with the Rollers, I spent nearly every year I went to the United States, and I spent probably 3 years in a row going to Roy Williams at Kansas.
Amazing basketball
Roy
program.
Williams, he gave me absolute total run. Anywhere they went on a practice in the film afterwards, dissecting, wherever, he gave me total access to all that. And I saw Woodbury playing when I was there on one of the years. So I always thought, and anyway, long story short, is we were able to get him in. And unfortunately, it was a terrible accident. It was the night before we went to Geelong and Titans with Brian's team. We were going for a double header. 10 minutes to go on Thursday night, he comes down and dislocates totally his foot, his ankle. It was facing the wrong way. And we got the ambulance. Yeah, got the ambulance, blah, blah, blah. He was out for the rest of the year, blah, blah, blah. And this is what you go on medical evidence because you're not the wiser. They told me he would never be the same again. And I had to let him go that year. And he went to Brisbane and carved us up. And I think Steve Woodbury was the making of CJ Bruton as a player.
Yeah, that's interesting because they did have a good combo when CJ came back to the Bullets when Steve was there.
Yeah. So
because I was coaching, I coached that year with CJ and Steve when Brian was head and I was assistant. I picked CJ up from the airport, but Woodbury, boy, he was tough.
Oh, he was tough. I rate him as one of the best, and he had a great mind for the game too. Like, just not a good player. He had a great mind, and he finished up coaching and still does, I believe.
Yeah, I know. I think
we brought this up, and he reached out to me on Messenger about the Bullets job.
Yeah,
I get this, and I sent, because I love Steve as much as you two guys, and I said, mate, went to the website, and this is like at 3 a.m. He's over in, where is he? He's at for a while there. He was at UConn as an assistant.
He was at Wake Forest for a while early.
He went Wake Forest, then he was a scout for Minnesota.
Okay.
And then I think he's back in like somewhere around Kansas again now. Like he's gone back to one of his home sort of. Anyway, keep going, Bruce.
Long story short, what was available on the Bullets website, info at Brisbane Bullet, went nowhere.
Okay.
CEO bounces back. So I finally talked to Steve Caitlin, who looks after all the, Steve, the alumni of the Brisbane Bullets, said, mate, Steve Woodbury has really expressed an interest in this job. Can you get it to Stu, whoever was doing the review? The next day, Stu Lash was named as the head coach. So, we missed out on getting Steve. But I remember him in college as just being a defensive stopper.
Yes.
More so than the offensive side that we all got to see out here and play. He was a handful.
Yeah.
Good size.
Oh, man. He was tough, man.
6'4" guard.
I used him defensively. He could guard 1 to 4.
Yes.
He could go 1 to 4 and do an excellent job,
Yeah.
you know.
And if
And
he had to,
hopefully,
he could push 5 around a little bit, but
yeah,
he had long arms like Leroy, like seriously long arms, but he had a big butt. And
he did.
he used to be able to create space unbelievably. You just couldn't
Yeah,
get near him.
Great
yeah,
handle. You know, he had a
yeah.
great handle. He could score in a variety of ways. But
Oh,
let's stay on Dave. After you, was it Wollongong, Illawarra after the Gold Coast?
uh, no, but I'll just go back to one other interesting thing. Steve will understand this one as well. Uh, when at the end of '89, I was assistant with Curly, and we went overseas. And our job was to find a point guard. So that's where I found Lafleur. Lafleur and Rucker,
That's right.
they and
I was
Steve was
on
on
that
that tour.
I was on that tour.
I
Yes.
saw you
And
guys in Stockton at University of Pacific. My alma
yes,
mater. I came and watched you.
and we went through Nebraska. We went through and Curly and I would buzz off sometimes and look. We were also looking for a big, and we got Andre Moore.
Yes.
And that's a story in itself. But getting back to Rucker, and I was rooming the whole tour with Peter Blucher, who was our media manager.
Yes,
Great bloke,
Blues.
Blucher. Blucher put some good stuff together. Anyway, every night after each game, we'd be having a drink in our room and we get to bed. But sometimes we'd be just laying in our beds and rating Rucker or Lafleur. And we
It
played about
must have
10
been
games.
close.
It was. We played about 10 games, right, on that tour. And for the first half of the tour, I had Lafleur in front.
Yeah.
Uh, and it wasn't until the back end of it that Rucker started to, and even at the finish, it was so neck and neck.
Yes.
And I remember we played the last game at a college just outside of Chicago at the end of it. And we had to make a decision. So Curly, of course, he pulls rank on me. He goes, I think we'll go with Rucker. I said, yeah, it was close. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll go and tell Rucker that he's got the job. You go and tell Lafleur he hasn't. Okay,
Good on you, Brian.
Yeah, good on you. I'll take that. And that's how Lafleur got to me the next year with the Rollers, because the way Lafleur took it when I told him, no blow up or nothing. Yeah, I understand, Dave, and a decision. I love the way that he did it. And he'd been playing in the CBA down in Adelaide the year before, so people knew him. And that's how I picked up. I go, we need a guard, Lafleur. Rucker got the job. Lafleur was that close. We'll take Lafleur this time. And Rucker come back. Obviously, got MVP.
Yeah.
Andre Moore gets
Andre
leading
had a great
rebounder.
season as well in his first year in the league. I mean, he
Absolutely.
was,
Absolutely.
but Andre was tough. I remember preparing for that trip. You would work. I don't think it was about working me. I was just the bait that had to defend Lafleur for the sessions, and you
Yep.
may not remember. And I used to try to think that I could defend okay.
You did.
I couldn't touch this guy.
Yeah.
He was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He,
But he had a strong body and you had a
oh,
strong body.
absolutely.
So there was good synergy on that.
Yeah. But good human as well.
He was. Yeah. He played
Yeah.
well. He played well for us.
What does he do today? Do you know? Does he coaching as well?
He's a coach.
So, is he?
Yeah,
He,
yeah.
well, I mean, he had a great coaching career at
Was
what's
he
the name of that?
was
Big
he
college.
Oh, in
Yeah, he was
college.
a Husky. He was at UConn, wasn't he?
That's it, UConn. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. And then he went to Providence.
Yep.
And like he's had a terrific coaching career at college, really.
Yeah.
Okay,
That
let's get back to
But
the NBL
yeah,
part. So when was it? And we got to go in, and we got a lot of time for this, but we know that you were the one that really was a driving force for resurrecting the Gold Coast back into the NBL. But did you not have a stop before that with
yeah. After Geelong, Hobart, and the Rollers, Gold Coast, got put out in '96. Like as you know, you're a professional coach, you haven't got a job. Mike Dunlap was coaching the Adelaide 36ers. Now, I still have a contact with Mike, as a few of us do. Whether he saw something in the way we prepared and played against these 36ers when at the Rollers games, I don't know. But he rang me and we spoke for nearly 2 hours on the phone in this room that I'm sitting in right now. And he wanted me to go down if I could and be the assistant coach with him at the 36ers. And of course, without a job, I accepted because I wanted to work with him as well. And yep, I said, "Yep, okay." So I packed up myself. I left my family here, and I went to Adelaide. Um, and I stayed down there for the whole season. Well, pre-season, Mike was having some issues with the front office, and I understood why. Um, but he got up and left. I think he said that his father wasn't too well. He went back to the United States. So they elevated me to become the head coach at the 36ers for '97,
Okay.
which I did. Um, and it's fair to say that I probably didn't get on well with 36ers Adelaide, and Adelaide didn't get on well with me. And we parted ways at the end of that season.
Has Adelaide ever changed?
No,
They're crazy down there.
There's some stories associated with that that I won't go into. But one thing I did do at Adelaide, which I've always thought was the right word, I took the captaincy off Mark Davis and gave it to Brett Maher.
Right. Okay.
Now, whether some people like that or not, I don't know, and I don't care, because to me, Brett Maher
Was a leader.
Was the leader.
Yeah.
And he showed that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know Mark Davis or Brett very well, but they're both great players. Adelaide's always had great players, always.
Yeah.
But it just seems like for some reason it's a nut house down there. And but now recruitment for this next NBL season is unbelievable. They've got Buddy Bryce, they've got Montreal, and they've brought back that guy Cheatham from that was played at the Breakers. He's a stud.
Yes, he can play. Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, let's see how it all fits.
There you go. And there you go. So I still think I would rather I can see that being an incredibly exciting team, but I can see that they could implode in the locker room.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll see.
I don't think we give Mike Wells enough credit. Definitely the guy who's the president of basketball operations, at Weston, right? He knows the game. He was Gordy's assistant when they got the grand final. Gordy McLeod's assistant at the Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Continuing on with our NBL arc before the administrative side of the sport you've been great at. So can we follow after Adelaide that 1 year, which is great because I forgot about that.
Then I went in 1999, I went down to Wollongong Hawks as the assistant coach.
Right. Okay.
And who was head coach?
Brendan Joyce.
Okay. Yep. Choco.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. But anyway, I stayed there for a year and I was working out in the mornings because I started that at the Bullets. Not just team practices, but I started at the Bullets with Ronnie and Rucker and Sibley and those guys. I used to take them down to Auckland and we'd work on our individual skills, particularly shooting.
Yeah.
And I had that format. And I started to do that at Wollongong. And I had David Anderson, Glenn Saville, Matty Campbell.
Campbell, yeah.
They all used to come, and they were loving it, right? We would go down to the snake pit, and we'd shoot in the mornings, and we work it. And then, for whatever reason, the coach told me 2/3 of the way through the season, no, we're going to stop that. We're not going to do that. The players are getting tired. Yeah, right. They loved it. Anyway, that stopped.
And to this day, they're still doing it.
Yeah. Of course you do.
Individuals are.
Of course you do. Of course you do. They've got time on their hands. They want to work on their skills and their craft. That's an obvious time to do it. So at the end of '99, I left and come back to the Gold Coast. I took my wife. My wife and I moved down. We rented our house out for that year and come back. And then that was the end of the Wollongong Hawks. And then in 2000, I had a season with the Bullets that I'd probably rather forget.
Is that with Richard Orley? Dick Orley?
Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, it was, I didn't like what was going on and how they were running it. I thought it was a bit amateurish. Anyway, they basically asked me to leave, but that's fine. I mean,
was Eddie
poor Robert Sibley? They put Robert Sibley in as the general manager at one point. So Sibs ringed me. He says, "Clacker, I need to see you. Their offices in the city one Friday. I need to see you." I go, "Yeah, okay, I'll come in." I knew exactly what was going on, so I walked in. Poor old Sibs sitting there. He's humming an hour and humming an hour, and I go, "Come on, get out with it. Do you want me to say it? You want me to leave?" "Oh, well, Dave, yeah. Okay, I'm going. I'll see you."
I forgot Rob was. That was a funny period. When did they then? So Eddie had them for how many more years? Because the Bullets were out for a couple of years. We weren't even in the squad.
Yes.
So the Blaze came back when?
That was about 2009, I think it was, from memory.
Okay. Yeah. And were the Bullets still going in 2009? Were the Bullets going?
Joey Wright brought them back.
That's right.
Joey had them, and Mark Bradke came up, and they had young Black, and they won a title.
Yeah, they had
206 or something like
that. They had Sammy Mack.
Yeah.
Was that the year that Sammy Mack was Defensive Player of the Year and MVP?
I've got a feeling. I'm not exactly sure on that, but they won a title with Joey, and they had a good year. But in terms of that was a period with the Bullets where one of the things I didn't like about 2000, these young blokes who were coaching, and they honestly were trying to get rid of Leroy Loggins. So Leroy played that year, and he had some injuries. He had some foot injuries, and I didn't like the way they were going about. This is a legend of the club, a legend of the club.
Absolutely.
And they were trying to demonstrate why he should finish, and I go, that's not the way. Even if he was to finish, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
This guy's a legend of this club.
Yeah.
You do it in the right way.
Correct.
And so
good on you, Clacker.
I didn't like that whatsoever. And then anyway, then I started at high school level, and I took up the position in 2001 at the Southport School, playing in the GPS comp as the director of basketball and the head coach, and I stayed there for 16 years. While we also put together the Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, that was a period, because I was at Terrace around that, that was a period where GPS really evolved from a basketball, and it was such a pleasure to see where it is today. Like, it's competitive.
Absolutely.
It's an unbelievable, like Bruce is at Grammar now, but he's spent time at Terrace. But you go watch that basketball. It's enjoyable basketball. The first basketball, these kids they're invested.
Yeah. Well, the first 2 years I had at Southport School, they opened their new gym, which was fantastic, but it was full of rugby guys.
Yes.
I had to wait for those rugby guys
because rugby used to be. Remember, rugby was a different season to basketball in those days,
so
which was great. That was an advantage for us. Yes.
So the rugby kids would come and play basketball, and I go,
"Oh, good.
No, I don't particularly want you playing basketball." So I had to wait for some of them to graduate before we started to put together some pretty good teams.
Man, I liked it because when I started at Terrace, we had 5 teams and we just had nothing. I liked it because the rugby guys were athletic, and I sold it to them. you come play basketball, I'll make you a better rugby player. A bit like your analogy with AFL.
Yeah,
You know, I'm going
yeah,
to improve your hands. You're going to have
yeah,
softer hands. You know,
yeah,
you're going to be able to read the game, taking to, you know. And
yeah.
I love some of the rugby players I got ended up playing for the bloody Wallabies and stuff, you know, out of terrace.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's such that
You
brings
know,
back a
one
lot
of
of good
the
memories to GPS to me.
one of the best rugby players that played GPS basketball and has now played for Australia at the Olympics was Will Magnay. He played rugby at Nudgee, and because Nudgee's a big rugby school,
Yeah.
they was telling him, "No, you're not playing basketball, mate. You're playing rugby." And at one point, somewhere at year 11, I think it was, might have been, he said, "No, I'm playing basketball." Now,
Does he got a brother that I think that been a good rugby player as well, I
not
think.
sure, but
Yeah.
you can tell that his physique at school, he would have been a good rugby player.
Well,
I want our listeners to know too, while you were at the Southport School, you did a great thing for all of us in Queensland, but Southeast Queensland, because you had the boomers camps,
Yes, yes,
right?
I
So
love that.
we got Bogut, that was
Yes,
huge.
yeah.
And Brian and I think Gordy was on. You were still doing that. How many years did the boomers
We
come?
we did that for just over 10 years. I had Brian Weiss and Brett Brown, and they used to come in and have their World Championship or Olympic Games last practice sort of camp before they flew out at TSS. Um,
wow.
and it was, I mean, the players who came through there is the who's who of basketball, you know.
Yes. It's
And I loved
nuts.
every minute of it because I would sit and watch Brian or Brett, run their sessions and whatever.
You're in
Um,
heaven.
it was fantastic. And I remember on one day, you talk about the floods and you talk about 1 in 100 year uh, rain bombs. We had one when Brian was here with the camp, and I remember driving down. I was on the side of the road on nearly a 45-degree angle, driving my car down the main street to get to school through the floodwaters. And I get to TSS. The car park, I'm not joking, would be over knee deep with water. And I thought, oh, I'll go down. Brian won't turn up. I'll get a phone call shortly, you know. Bugger me, about 10 o'clock, just before 10, I see a couple of minibuses pull up. Next minute, I see Gorge with a crew walking through the car park, knee
In the
deep.
water.
He's coming to practice. Well, on top of that, the bloody roof leaked. I
Oh,
had
shit.
buckets all around the bloody place, and he had one basket at
Oh,
TSS to work with until I wiped the floor. And then he said, "Oh, I want a scrimmage full court." I go, "Jesus, I'm run while they're down one end, I've got a towel wiping the bloody floor."
to
And
keep it
then they look
dry.
out, here they come. I'm the floor wipe. They come down, while they're down there, I'm down the other end wiping it up. And I'm thinking, you've got Bogut and all of it. You've got millions of dollars worth of players out here.
They could roll their ankle.
I
Oh,
don't want
God.
one to break a leg. But no, that was gorge. He was coming no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Oh, man.
surprised that the boomers don't. Well, now the FIBA calendar is just congested, right?
Yeah,
There's not a national league in the world that's not impacted by
yeah,
FIBA's
yeah,
windows and
yeah,
3-on-3 tournaments and what have you. But I know that Brian, compare it to nothing wrong with the facilities at the AIS, at the Center of Excellence, is now called.
yeah, yeah,
Boy, I'd rather be on the Gold Coast.
yeah,
You know, better climate because you
yeah,
get down there. You could freeze the nuts off a tractor down at
yeah,
camp. And I
yeah.
thought, man, what a great idea. It's
And the other thing, Bruce, that we use the warmth and the coast as a selling point to Basketball Australia and the coaches. But the other thing was transport. They stayed at Royal Pines, and it was 10 minutes at best.
yeah.
And it's
Not
a
not
nice
fighting the
place to
traffic in
stay.
Melbourne or Sydney or wherever. 10 minutes at the back and forth to the stadium. You know.
Clackers, it makes me think, and Bruce, we've talked about this before. Like when the seasons were different, obviously basketball was in winter. So
Yeah.
we'd do the trips overseas. I mean, I had 2 trips to the States, so they were just magic.
Yeah.
But I have fantastic memories of scrimmaging in the summertime on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny Grantham used to run the Southport
Yeah.
School there with an
At
Iron
the old
Fist.
Southport gym. Yep.
Yeah, like, do you remember those times? And
Absolutely.
holy moly, there was a who's who of basketball come through there in the summer.
During the Christmas holidays, you would have the Cal Brutons. You would have,
Shane Heal would be there,
they'd all
like,
they'd all come through, mate. Yep, exactly.
it was so much fun. And then you had to just about bribe John Grantham, like me as a young guy trying to get on the court. Oh, that was so hard. And,
Yeah.
and if you lost, you were out for 10 more games until you could scrounge into another. But
Yeah,
Johnny Grantham ran it like if you look
he did.
sideways, he'd buddy whack you in the head, if
He did. Well, the funny thing, John O and I, he was a rookie coming in the Queensland team when I was playing, and we used to play a few jokes on him. And I remember once in a couple of stories. I remember once we were in Sydney and we were at a tournament, and he wanted to watch Eddie Palabinskis play in this game,
Yep.
right? And we're sitting in the stand. We'd already played the day before. Anyway, we're sitting up there, and the crowd's waiting for Eddie Palabinski to come out, and they're warming up. And me and my mate Bob Gobbolt said to Johnny, I said, Bob, do you feel like an ice cream or something? He goes, yeah, I would. Johnny, would you go to the kiosk, get us a couple of ice creams, mate? Come on, give the money. Boom. He goes, the kiosk 10 deep. He's waiting to get, and he comes back. Palabis has finished all his warm up and everything. He missed a lot. But he was a fiery bug. He was a fiery bug.
He was a funny bloke. I mean, I didn't know him well, but I was just a young kid trying to, my eyes this big, with all these amazing players on the court, and you could get on for a sec. It's so amazing, and I know that Sydney have been doing this. What do they call it, Bruce? A Sydney run or something.
Run.
Yeah, and every Wednesday, Clacker, they've all the Sydney players have to be there, so they're running Sydney stuff. But NBL one guys are coming from everywhere to have this run with all the players in Sydney. It reminds me a little bit of the old, Southport
gym.
Yeah,
And it was
Albert
at
Park,
Southport. It was
right?
really no blood, no foul, no blood, no
That's
blood,
right.
no foul. And Bruce will remember as well that similar thing used to happen at Albert Park in Melbourne. Bruce was part of it, and Gorge and those guys. Andrew, it was a who's who of scrimmage at Albert Park.
Yeah.
Was that a Friday afternoon?
Friday avos. So
Yeah.
I'd always make sure I'd plead. I was a teacher then. I need 6th period off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I got to get there. You got to get there before 4. So
Yeah.
you get your shots up, and then the first 5 that make it, they're a team. Next 5, they're a team. We'd get 40 kids. We get
Yeah.
players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lindsay would play.
Yeah.
Andrew would play, and he was like 12.
Yeah.
Held his own. Timsy, Michelle Timms would play.
Yes.
And then, we had Kenny Richardson, Bill Palmer, Gary Fox, all the Yanks would get down there. And there'd be a few, like I said, Lindsay held his own. Andrew, when you get on. Warren Pink would come down.
Yeah.
Peter Skadens. Every now and again, we'd get a couple. Dave Leslie, Al Westover, Benny Lewis, Ray Shirley. They're all there.
Yeah.
So you don't want to come in at 4, or you won't get a game.
Yeah.
Right. I'm wondering how many of these guys. That most all of us were teachers. All of us worked out, man. 6th period. I gotta go.
Gotta go.
Let's
Some of the players.
Let's
that
continue
came
on
through.
with the plays. How you got that thing going?
Yeah. Well, I give a lot of credit to the Tomlinson family. Owen, good mate of mine. I had coffee with him only the other day. I did a lot of work in between times trying to get, and at one point we actually had the Newcastle license because they were handing it over. Actually, they said, You've got it." We actually met with the Newcastle consortium up here to organise the transfer. And bugger me, it flattened me for a while. About 2 weeks later, they get, "No, that Newcastle licence is going to the Singapore Slingers." And they gave it to Singapore.
Yes,
So
that's right.
that set us back a little while. And then we finally got it. But unfortunately, the timing with the Blaze, it was that global financial
GFC was on.
GFC.
It was a tough time.
And you could not get
That's
sponsorship
thousands.
money. You couldn't get sponsorship money. It was so difficult, But the Gold Coast City Council, Ron Clark, who's unfortunately passed away, but Ron was a great help, great Australian athlete. But he
Yes.
helped. They brought I looked at the floor. I wanted an NCAA top floor. They brought that out from the States and paid for it. They brought 3 Butte baskets from Italy, and they paid for that. And then we tried to find a good venue, but couldn't. But we finally had to work out of the convention centre.
Yeah.
And the Gold Coast Convention Centre was just a costly exercise. Beautiful. I still say today,
Nice place to play.
nice place to play. The presentation of the game and the floor, and it was spot on.
Yeah.
It was just too expensive.
Yeah.
I remember you would remember this, David. You introduced me to Ron Clark. They were going to give us land next to where the NRL team plays.
Yes, yes.
And I, at the time, was the acting interim CEO for Basketball Queensland.
Yeah,
I thought, well, here we go. We could have our own state
Yep.
sports center right
Yep.
here in a perfect spot. Land's given to us. And of course, the board, no. They don't
Yep.
ain't nothing risky.
yeah,
Like I'm thinking you guys don't get, once you got this, you got to
Yeah.
fly. And
Yes.
you've been hosting everything,
Yeah.
national junior championships,
No lie, yeah.
international games. It's
Yeah.
been great. And I thought, wow, these guys are 2 steps ahead of the rest of us here in Queensland. But no, right. We don't want it.
It's the biggest mistake. Like, the Bullets, they finally got their little centre down in South Bank, which is great, right?
I haven't been there, but I must go and have a look.
You know that you're welcome there, and Malcolm Watts has done a great job with that. I take my hat off to him. Really well done, and it's really nice. For guys like me who played fuck all, you go there and you name, because you did step over the white line, you did turn up and you put the jersey on, and to have your name there, with Leroy, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
But we've never owned our own facility, like
No,
we should have had all those years ago at 10 court that built into a master court, and it would have paid itself off by now. But here we are,
absolutely.
we're still
Yeah.
fighting for facilities, aren't we?
Yeah, Gold Coast is the same. They don't own their facility. The Gold Coast Association, biggest association in Queensland, don't have access to their stadium. They don't get their food. They don't get the drink. They don't get whatever. They just pay rent.
But like, how does that work? Like it's taxpayers' money that build these facilities, okay?
Yeah.
And being used by taxpayers. Why are we then charging the taxpayers, putting pressure on the clubs instead of being able to spend more money on more facilities, like the clubs? Like we could go, hey, we're more financial because we're getting the food, we're getting the rent, but it's going back to the government coffers.
Yeah.
And yet you'll have some clubs paying $1 bloody leases, like how does that work out?
Yeah.
It should be the same across the board.
Dave, you made a really good point about now with Brisbane hosting the 32 Olympics. Man, getting any money.
Yeah.
Right. They got facilities. It's just not going to be happening.
No.
Clack, have you seen Auchenflower lately?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it, and I don't want to see it. because
I mean, like Bruce asked me to go to watch a Capitals game. I actually can't get in because it's not accessible. I actually can't get
yeah,
in to see a game.
in this day and age, unbelievable.
Mate, they might as well play in a tent.
Yes.
That it's I'm surprised Basketball Queensland allowed them to play their games there.
Well, the funny part about Auckland Flower, I came up from Tasmania in 1973, late 73, and they opened Auckland Flower Stadium, two-court stadium, in June 1973. In 74, only a few months after, early 74, they had the Brisbane floods.
Of course.
And the water of the floods was above the rim in the Auckland Flower Stadium on the two courts. It was lapping the railway line out the front. That's how high the water was.
And they've been through multiple floods since, and they're
Yes.
now rebuilding it again. Now, at what stage is someone on? I'm not the brightest, but wouldn't you think
Bulldozer.
to bulldoze and put it on stilts?
Yes,
and
bulldoze it and put it in that area, that parkland area. But at the end of the day, we went down to clean it up. It was an absolute mess. It was twisted, but girders, the floor was raised with the water, and they just waited till it all settled down, the floor, and we played on it for many, many years.
mate,
But
that was Auckland Flower floor's always been
that
a
was
great
Auckland
floor.
that was Auckland Flower in 1974.
Wow.
So, you know, from
Was,
then
was
on,
Mick was Mick Tarrant, had he started
I
cleaning
think
that?
Mick was living under the. I think he might have got flooded. Mick was living under the stands, probably.
The asbestos.
But
Then again, they got flooded really bad. It didn't get up to the level of the rim. Well, that was 2011. I mean, anytime we're going to get flooded again.
yes,
So you're right. If that thing isn't built up at the same levels where court 3 and 4 are above the
Yep.
tree line,
yep,
you know, and make that parking. But, you know, hindsight's never wrong. This was a mistake. You know, they're trying to renovate this and put a terrace, put a veranda that can a foyer, they call it, that goes from court 3 to 4.
yeah,
Doesn't solve the problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
Your
Yeah.
court, your main court is going to be underwater again sometime.
correct.
yeah,
It's going to happen again. It's sad because it was I grew up in Bundy, but Auckland Flower has been my home. That's where I
Yep.
played, and I love being involved. When I was a kid playing at that association as a young, a kid. Clacker, can we talk about today's youth basketball coaching?
Yeah.
What's your lens on that, knowing all this history that you've brought through? It's definitely changed, correct?
Well, I look at it this way. Yes, the young, a lot of the younger players, boys and girls, their approach to their age group and their life at this particular time has been fashioned by what the social programs are today. So a lot of them are not resilient in terms of how we had to deal with our own things and learn how to be a bit more independent and resilient over time with the hiccups you have. A lot today is the kids don't experience that. So, they talk about the kids today, oh, you can't talk to them like this, you can't talk to them like that. Well, yeah, I've toned down to some degree, but I still, and I've proved it with the kids who I've had over the last 20 years. Some of them still come back to me, want to have a beer, want to come back, meet me at the basketball. Oh, remember that, remember. So what I've done is I've been consistent. I've been hard on the boys, but I've been consistent with the way we've tried to manage what they're doing. And they know when things haven't gone too well for them, that they understand that if you're consistently telling them and showing them what is required, it's they don't like it early. They don't like it early, but then they get. I don't know how many kids have come back to me. They've gone on to college, or if they're playing senior, NBL1 or whatever, and they come back, when they're about 20, 21, 22. Oh, now I understand. I
Um,
understand what you were trying to do. You didn't
Cracker,
understand it when you were
I
16.
played for you. I loved playing for you because you were hard and like guys, like young guys my age, we needed our bloody, our asses kicked, because we thought our shit didn't stink, but we were nothing, and you taught us discipline, and you're one of the first guys to do that for me. I was completely out of control. I'd want to punch everyone on the head and bite their heads off, but
Yeah,
you taught. I love playing under you, and I asked that question because I know that Bruce and I have toned down as well in terms of you know, we're still disciplined and we don't take shit,
mm,
but you know, I guess the other part of it is the parents. Like my parents never stuck their nose in anything ever in my
mm.
entire, whereas today the parents are relentless, about, oh, my
Yeah,
kid should be in rep and this kid
yeah,
didn't
and
get.
I've experienced that for I don't know how long. Um, I had a woman back in the early 80s. I had a woman stand me up at Auckland Flower one day because I didn't play her son in a state final which we won. Yet he played in the semi and he played a few gut during and because he worked, he was obviously, I reckon, a single mother. She loved her kid because he was working part time, and she dialed me up outside the kiosk at Auckland Flower and tore strips off me in front of lots of people. And I just stood there and I thought, I've just got to take it. I'm not
Yeah,
going to win this argument. I just got to take it. And then I moved on. But the
it's
parents,
relentless now. The parents is
the
one of the
parents
biggest
today,
problems.
I say to them from year 7, 8, 9, if I've got kids around that age, and I don't usually have them that young, but occasionally year 9, they're still boys. I'll talk to you about their whatever. From year 10, I treat them as young men.
Yeah,
Year 10, 11, 12, they're young men. I'm not talking to you, I'll talk to them. If you want to know something about the basketball, you talk to them, to your son.
yeah,
Because I'm teaching and talking to him like a young man.
yeah,
Because in a couple of years' time, he's going to be driving a car.
yeah.
He's going to be going to work.
Yes.
Well, turn up at work half an hour late
See how
and
that
see how
goes.
long you last.
Yeah.
So you try and the emotion of the parents comes in, and I say, I understand your emotion. I don't have quite the emotion, but at the end of the day, I'm treating your son like a young man.
And some of them just don't want to do the work that's required
No,
they want to wear the fancy shoes, they want to have the hat on back to front, and they want to strut everything and go play in the AAU tournaments and just run up and down and shoot.
yeah,
But that doesn't make you a better player, unfortunately. The players, I've got a really good mate of mine who's the head coach of um, Arizona, Tommy Lloyd. I
yeah,
asked him, I said, mate, he's coaching these unbelievable athletes. And he said, man, it's just repetition. I
yes,
said, but it's the one. He says, it's just repetition. He said, we can coach on the court, but the kids have to go away and have to get their reps up. And the ones still to this day, I think succeed do that.
mm,
They find a way to do more than the other kids, and
yeah, yeah,
it's nearly like when Bruce and I have had this conversation, 1 to 8 nearly sorts itself out, or 1 to 7, right?
yeah.
But it's the final 3, 4 in the squad that are going to give you grief. They're not getting enough time. The parents are whinging. It's never the 1 to 7. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
but you've got to plan for that because it's always going to happen to some degree.
yeah,
So
that's a good point.
so yeah, like a couple of things there is you find in every team you put together there's an element of some skills, lesser skill, good skills, whatever by position. But the first thing you look at, and I look at players because I won't put my name to a player overseas, to a US coach, whatever, if I don't think their attitude is right. the first thing I look at is over a period of a few months. Are you coachable?
Yeah.
If you're not coachable, you're just going to give me a lot of grief.
Yes.
You know, you're going to want this, you're going to want that, but are you coachable?
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things that twig in my mind. If you're not, then I don't particularly want to spend too much time with you. You know, I've got others who want. You know, second thing is,
Yeah.
the second thing is when you're putting your squad together, and I saw an example of it even in the NBL one now, is, and we see even in the NBL, I start to see the substitution and rotations. By the end of the quarter, they've had 10 players on the court.
I don't know how they do it.
Well, I know why they do it, probably, is, and this is the day and age, is because they come to practice, they think they deserve time on the floor. So I've got to keep them happy. So I'll put them, give them time on the floor. Well, you might be losing your bloody game and your job too. But second thing is, when you put a squad together, you're right. Bruce understands it totally. You're 7 and 8, you're going to rotate them. Well, you've got to then talk to your 9, 10, 11, and 12 before the season starts.
So that's
and tell
where
them
you are.
this is your role. This
Yeah.
is what's likely to happen. Now, with injuries, you might get extra, but this is what's likely to happen. And I would love you to practice, and I hope you learn from that. Are you happy with that? Are you happy with that? I'm not going to deal with that during the season because now it's toxic.
Yeah. And
So
you
I
know,
deal with it before the season starts. If they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, no, I'm not happy with that," well, no, okay, well, there might be another team you can go to, whatever. But I don't want you sitting on the bench. And
yeah.
we've all had it. I don't want you
Yes.
sitting on the bench thinking, "Why am I on? I should be on before him or her or whatever." Deal with it before
What's
the
that?
season
What's
starts.
the Yukon female coach? What's his name, Bruce?
Pardon?
Gino?
Gino Amorello, or
Yeah.
coach of
Ariamo, yeah,
Yeah.
Gino.
And
Yeah.
he's openly come out. It's, you can find his commentary on this easy. And he said, if I look down the bench and they're not engaged and not cheering for if there's someone sulking, they don't play. And he's playing Div 1,
Yes.
female, and he's won as many championships as anyone. He would rather lose a game than
Yep.
allow that cancer to get into. And I'm the same, like,
Yeah.
especially like under 16 A's, like if you lose a fucking game, who cares?
Yeah. But Bruce understands this too. Is Gino Ariamo and that he's got form. He's got good form. He's got experience. He got time. He got
Yeah.
championships.
Yeah.
Who's gonna argue with him?
Yeah. Well, no
And have
one.
that conversation? No. I can if you don't want to play, you don't play. Because he can recruit with his program over the top of you anytime you like.
Yeah.
So
Well,
see
they get paid
some
now,
of the,
that's changed. And again, and
yeah.
Tommy Lloyd, we had on the podcast a few weeks back, Clucker, and he just said that I'm still, regardless of the money that's now involved in the college, and he's one of the top programs in the college. He said I'm still treating them like college athletes.
Well, absolutely, as you should. As you should. They're young, you
Yeah.
know. The money might influence them in some other ways, but no, they're still young and they are still learning their craft to hopefully earn more, you know. But yeah, and he's got a job, you know.
Yes.
He's got a job, and he wants to keep that job for as long as he
Well,
can.
well, he's only getting paid 6 million, so yeah, I think he
There you
does
go.
want to keep that job, and
Yeah.
that's publicly available. I mean, I'm not talking out of school. That he made the top 10 list of, he's not the highest paid in college. It's
No.
just he's in the top 10. That's just
Well,
nuts. That is crazy money. This
it
SIL
is.
money is crazy.
He won't have to line up at Centrelink.
No. Hey, I want to get back into
Yep.
one thing that our listeners wouldn't be aware of, that you being an assistant coach to Barry Barnes.
Yes.
What year was that? 94.
92 to 94.
That's right. And you guys finished world championship,
Yes.
finishing fifth,
Yeah.
which was at that time. I don't think we did we. I don't think we got. I know they got fourth.
That was our equal best performance
at the time.
To that time. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Who was in that
my
squad?
whole thing is that we got a huge asset in Dave Claxton here in Southeast Queensland that I don't think we're making nowhere near enough use of. And, I'm looking forward to after this GPS season, David, I want to work with you on when we played golf the last time,
Yep.
kicked Brian Allen and Rob Scheibner's ass. We tied, actually. The whole thing of the decision making and doing it out of short-sighted games.
Yes.
We're going to get into that, right? Fourth term. Come down.
I'm big on that. I'm big on that.
I love working on you. I always respected your team's tough.
Always.
Great, offensively sound. The Litzenberger, the matchup zone was something you had to prepare for, you had to deal with, because at the time it was incredibly unique. And the ball pressure and disruption was, boy, you better be prepared for this.
Yes.
And mate, I just think that, and you can kind of tell that I'm wrapping this into a bow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we try to do these to an hour or an hour and a half, but like we've just enjoyed chatting with you. Like
Bruce mentioned about the Australian team. Barnesy appointed me as his assistant. We played the dream team in that tournament in World Championship. The dream team had Reggie Miller, Shaq was out of school, Alonzo Mourning, Sean Kemp, Mark Price, the Kevin Johnson, go on and on. Okay, and we're playing them in the World Championship tournament, and Don Nelson's their coach. Anyway, we're up. Would you believe 15-7? I think it was in the first quarter, and Nelson calls the timeout. So we come over and Andrew Gazy says to me, "Clacker, get my out of my bag, get my camera, take a photo of the scoreboard right now."
Yeah.
Australia 15, USA 7. I go, right. The next sub comes in, it's Reggie Miller off the bench. He comes down.
Bang, bang,
he nails 3 threes in our face in a row. Yeah. Runs past the bloody bench, gives us a bird, and I give him one back too. I thought, fuck you, Anyway, and they finish up obviously beating us. But that was an experience playing that dream team that year.
What was Sean Kemp like? I had always
he was a man child, mate.
Yeah,
he was a man child.
He massive, wasn't he? Like, I mean, Shaq was bigger, but but Kemp was explosive.
Kemp was just a strong, big body. But the other one we played Croatia too that year was Tony Kukoc.
Oh, okay,
he was the flavor of Europe before he went to Chicago.
Yeah,
Kukoc was in that Croatian team.
Yeah. How tall was he?
He would have been 6'9", 6'8". Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, another left-hander.
Could shoot the piss out of the ball.
Yeah. He had a great reputation, and of course Chicago picked him up not long after that.
So I'm going to let Bruce tie this in a knot, but Clark, I just wanted to say, I have a massive amount of admiration for you, and thank you for all the little things you did for me when I was a young man and stupid and wild, and thank you very much. But having you on the podcast has been great.
You were a great competitor, mate. I'm telling you right now. You're on my under-20 team, but you're on that tour. We went to the States with the Bullets. You may not know, but I want to tell everybody who's listening to this, you had in the stat column, free throws 100%.
Oh, thank you, thank you,
Two from two.
Was he 1 for 1?
2 from 2. 100%.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
I just want to thank you, David. And I just, to the people in definitely on the Gold Coast, but here at Southeast Queensland, we've got a great coach, really great at the individual skill development and generous. And I'd love to see you more, assisting with our elite talent coming up through Basketball Queensland. I bet your phone rings off the hook from them, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Not
it's
quite.
like
No, no,
it's,
no. I did a clinic with this Gold Coast Seahawks here not long ago, a few weeks ago.
Okay,
I look
good.
like I may be doing a little bit with one of the Brisbane clubs
Nice.
shortly. I'm trying to see because I like working not only with young players, but I also like the coach development. I think it's underdone. I really
Yes.
do. I
yeah.
think it's totally underdone. Um, and I understand coming from where we've come from that sometimes you're self-taught, but you go out and find, if you want to find the knowledge. And I don't think we do quite enough with that.
That's
And
a
the
good
other
point.
thing, when I go back to the director of coaches in Queensland basketball, Doc Atkins did a great job with that Triple ABL. Best basketball ever in Brisbane. I haven't seen any better since.
Right.
James Crawford was in that group. Leroy Loggins was in that group. Donnie Ray Cruz played for Newcastle.
Yeah.
They went and played NBL straight after that.
Yeah.
They were good players. And then Mark Bragg came in. Now, Braggy, I had the under 20 team in 85 to 90, and you were one of those years. But Braggy and I was working with the Queensland under 20s, and we come back from an Australian title. And I thought to myself, where do these kids go now? They're 18, 19. Where they're finished. What's their basketball? So I said to Braggy, you know what? It's about time we started to look like getting a state league together. And Braggy took it on with me, and Fred Van Dongen was the treasurer of Queensland. And we got the state league up and running in 1986. It's now the NBL 1.
Yes.
But
And with
that's
QSL 2, QSL
yeah,
youth.
but that's how it started.
It's
With
incredible. Yeah.
the under 20 kids. They're finished. What do they do now? What, just go and play locally at Auckland Flower or Bundaberg or
Yeah.
Townsville or whatever? No. So between us, we got that thing going in 86. I had the Brisbane Brewers. We were sponsored by 4X, so we called themselves Brewers. So that was good.
I
And
played for the Brewers, man.
yeah, there you go. There you go. See?
I
And
played
that's how
and I coached the Brewers one year as well. So that
they
the Brewers is now the Capitals. It's the same team.
same. That's it. It is.
But
It's
it was
all
an
man.
awesome. I mean, there was just all those. I mean, that's right in '86. Like I finished school in '86. Like it was just an incredible time for. There's so many pathways now. Like going to college is like you can go Div 1, Div 2, Div 3,
Yeah.
JUCO, but that wasn't a possibility in our
Yeah.
era. So the state
No.
league was a big thing.
So when you appointed Basketball Queensland Director of Coaching, if what it's called now, I don't know. What imprint? What have you left?
Yeah, that's a
Okay?
good point. Braggy left a lot. Braggy was a good guy.
Bragg was a great bloke, and him and I got on really well. And he went on to coach Townsville in the NBL.
Yeah.
I mean, um, but those things evolve if you put your mind to those things and get them done, and then players benefit from those sorts of programs, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Well,
So
mate, there
it's
would
all
be
good.
thousands of athletes that have been under your tutelage, and I would imagine thousands of them would be very happy that they have had you have a hand in their development as a human. So thank you for doing that, Dave.
No, that's all good. And as Bruce and I have talked about, at some point, with the knowledge that he has, uh, as well, let's try and impart that. See,
Yes.
sometimes I think what happens, and I've experienced it, whether Bruce has or not, is they think the game's passed you by.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't coached high school basketball at the senior level for 25 years and let the game pass me by,
No.
you know. And Bruce is exactly the same. We haven't let the game pass us by. These people who come through younger in the coaching, they learn as they should, they learn, and they think that's the only way.
Yeah.
You know? But everything
there's no secrets in this game. You know,
everything I've done, I can't talk for Bruce, but we've learned it from somebody else.
Yes, there's no secrets. It's all this bullshit. I teach people how to shoot differently. I've got the, somehow I've got the, Southern Hemisphere style of shooting. What the fuck, mate?
Yeah.
Tuck fucking elbow in and follow through. Now
Whatever.
that's a good start.
Hey, Dave,
I haven't sat down ever and found something unique of basketball that nobody else has ever done. No, I've taken it from
Somewhere.
the Fred Lichtenbergers, the Jim Sewards, the whoever's. I mean, that's what it is.
And it's how
we're going to have on our website and on these, we have a coach's corner. And we got Brian Gorgon, Tom Marr, and we're going to ask you, some of your favorite drills, some of your that whole Litzenberger zone. Would you be willing to share that for the rest of our basketball audience?
Yeah. It's not a secret to me. I've learned it, and it's helped me a lot. And I don't see it. I don't see it run.
But again,
I see zones today. I don't like zones because they don't know how to play a zone properly.
Yes.
Ours was more of a man-to-man zone.
Place.
It had rotations that you had to sprint to and get to.
Yeah.
And it had ball pressure.
Yeah.
It had ball pressure.
Yeah.
They don't today.
So we're going to have your colleague Mike Dunlap on Monday. And I spoke to him during the week about, I don't know if you ever saw his 1-1-3 matchup zone.
Yep. I've got his video. Yeah.
He said we got the green light to put that on. So our producer comes into town Sunday. He's going to teach us how to upload stuff onto our website. Yep. But I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your what you have given basketball all around Australia, certainly down here in Southeast Queensland, and can't wait to play golf with you again during the
Yeah, we've got to do that.
Absolutely.
Flacker, you are a champion, mate. Thank you
for
your time.
Steve goes and watches.
First time I've ever done one of these.
Is this the first time you've done a podcast?
First time I've ever done one, Steve. So you and Bruce, thank you for the invitation.
No, mate, you're a rock star. You're a rock star. And yeah, you're just a great bloke, Packer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
See you, mate.
Boys. Okay, bye.